Hey, I'm giving a bit of a story and some advice, and we'll see how that all goes. I've given this advice before. It's around comic conventions and just knowing your limit, so to speak. This is not going to be a Boy Scout video about don't go drinking, but it is a little story maybe some of you find funny, and a little bit of advice for up and comers about how to not tank your career. So stay tuned. Here we go. Hey everybody, this is Perch. I've done videos in the past talking about comic conventions, and one thing I want to clear up right now because some of the comments seem to indicate people got the opposite read on what I said, is that at comic conventions, it's just to describe kind of the pace of the day. You people wake up kind of more or less either truly hungover or just feeling like they're hungover. And what I mean by that is if you walk around in a hall all day, and especially if it's a big hall, like you're in the San Diego Hall or even the Emerald City Comic Con in Seattle. It's in the Washington State Convention Center. It's not a big convention center, but it's still you get this. There's this hum of both the lights, which are these kind of brutal fluorescents, and you get the people chatter, and you get the it's warmer than it should be, and it's an unpleasant atmosphere from just an environmental standpoint. Some people go to Comic Con and they just love every second because they're surrounded by cosplayers and comics and everything else. And I've had that feeling too. I still have that feeling. I love being immersed. But what I don't love is that it'd be nice if they could turn on the air conditioning just like 5 degrees more than what it's at, and the lights are tough. And if you've been in that hall and you wander around, especially if you're working in that hall, makes it worse. You're kind of trapped there. You get this feeling of you're usually dehydrated and you just feel terrible. So when you wake up the next morning, you feel hungover, regardless of whether you've been drinking or not. But at the same time, a lot of people do go drinking again, especially at San Diego. You have this. If you've never been to San Diego Comic Con, you have this very long convention hall, kind of very long and narrow, and it's close to the water, so it's backed up against some water, sort of. I mean, my memory also here is I know I've stayed often at a hotel. If you're facing the convention center and you go off to the right, it's like a Hyatt and a Marriott to the right, and back behind those there's water. So at some point the water ends and there's land. This detail does not matter. I'm just it just dawned on me. Nobody cares. Anyway, but to the other side, if you now are turn your back 180 from the convention center and you stare kind of toward downtown San Diego, you're facing the Gaslamp District, and that is a fun kind of little area. They sometimes close off the streets when there's conventions and shows, and it is got hotels, it's got restaurants, it's got bars, it's got little boutique shops, but emphasis on the restaurants and the bars. And San Diego Comic Con is always a magical time where all the bars get more expensive. But it's common for people to kind of flood out of the con and then wander into the restaurants and bars and get hammered. Or if they're feeling fancy, they go out to Old Town, which is a cab ride, and they get drunk there. If you want good food, better food, I think you're going out to Old Town, and the margaritas are really good. And I mean, there's a place there with like a giant, what's like a three-story wall of tequila. It's just more tequila than you've ever seen in your life, and it's wonderful. Anyway, so very common to do all that, but it's especially kind of the one-two punch of being dehydrated and exhausted on the floor, and then getting super hammered at night that really sets up the super epic hangover the next day, which is what a lot of people get themselves into. So anyway, the it's very common. I'll go out drinking with retailers or with creators, whether they're, usually artists. I was thinking about this the other day. If I was to make a table of the people I've gone out drinking with, they're almost always either artists or editors. And here's some more very general statements. Sample size of one, not indicative of anything. The editors drink a lot more than the artists. I would say the artists tend to tap out earlier. They also seem to get drunk faster. It's like the artists do not have the super liver tolerance of the editors. I don't know if that's maybe this is completely just me, But and then I go out occasionally with writers, but not very much. The writers tend to either stick to themselves or they do their own thing. Or I've also noticed this. I think the writers tend to be a lot more. Boy, I could have made a completely different video than what I'm making now. Come to think of it, but the writers tend to be more withdrawn, more socially awkward. I would say the artists are a little bit easier to talk to, a little bit easier to deal with, just more friendly, have better social skills. And then the editors tend to be more normal people, I would say, but with an edge. There's definitely always this bit of an edge to the editors, and the editors, like I said, they definitely drink more. In my limited experience. So I often go to these shows and then I'll grab a couple people and we'll all meet together. And usually it's two or three retailers, like two editors, two artists, some kind of combo like that, a writer thrown in there, like a group of us, and we're going out. We're having some food and it's never said out loud, but there's always this backup expectation that the retailers feel. And I've asked that the retailers in private have talked later and noted that there's always this backup expectation that the retailers are going to pay, and I don't know why that is. We usually do. I mean, we usually take these people out, and they're like, okay, you asked us out, so and it usually doesn't go that way. In fact, a lot of editors will say, hey, do you want to go grab dinner? Like they initiate, but then somehow by the end of dinner and drinks, it's like, hey, since we came out with you, you're buying, right? It's weird how that works. God, I'm actually this all kinds of thoughts are coming into my head making this video. It's like you're watching things dawn on me in real time. Anyway, uh, but it is common that that's why I've actually learned. By the way, there's one editor in particular at Marvel that I do not go out drinking with because they're going to make me broke. I've just that's somebody who can drink a lot. But as I've done other videos, it's not uncommon for people to go past their limit. And then generally when people go past their limit, there's kind of one or two things that happen. Either they just get kind of sick and drunk and they go and they vomit in the bathroom, and then they come out and they look green, and then it's like time to get them back to the hotel. And I always have this policy where if you're out with me and I'm sober or soberish and you're drunk and you have no control of yourself, I feel like I get this dad kind of moral obligation. I will get you back to your hotel. So, and I've learned over time that a smart idea is to learn where people are staying before you go out drinking. Because I've had that experience like, hey, it's time to go back to the hotel. Where can I take you? And the answer I get is, I don't know. And they're like, oh, now my moral obligation to get them back into the hotel is coming in conflict with the desire to just dump them at the side of the road. So, get the hotel first. But my goal is once I get to the hotel, it's like, call the Uber, get to the hotel, maybe help them out of the car, make sure they get through the doors. Once they're through those doors into the lobby, problem solved. Do they get up to the room? Don't know. The obligation, the contract is fulfilled. And now I go out with the rest of my life. But that's one route. The other route is that the person gets obnoxious and wants to get into, hey, let's have some fun territory. And that's the dangerous one. That's the one where I've seen careers implode in real time. That's where it's like, hey, do you think I could get this girl to take off her bra? I'm like, how about no? Don't do that. And 10 years ago, in the age before kind of rampant cell phones and social media, that was always a dodgy proposition. But still, in theory, could be a he said, she said situation where, maybe it could be denied later. In today's world where you have both combo Me Too and, photo evidence of wrongdoing, that kind of stuff is like, goodbye career. And unfortunately, in comics, as I've again done videos on this in the past before as well, is there's a lot of pent up emotion that seems to release, like you shake up a soda can and suddenly you open it and it sprays everywhere. That's how Comic Cons tend to go. It seems like there's a very kind of restrained life that is going on. You get to the convention, you get free drinks, and suddenly it's like, I'm gonna live. Now's my moment, and shenanigans ensue. I think that and so, like I said, I've had some plenty of encounters of both varieties. I've had, I don't know why the male editors, or just comic people, male comic people, it includes retailers as well, by the way. They always, this has happened many, many times, and maybe somebody can explain it to me in the comments below. They want to have the challenge of, hey, can I get this woman over here to take off her bra? I don't understand the end game there. I mean, just is it this does not seem like a fun game. And why for anyone? I mean, the woman, the man. I mean, look, in just most basic common sense thing possible. If you want to see boobs, go to the strip joint. There are plenty of them. In San Diego has many, many, many strip joints. Most of them are by the airport. In fact, they're almost always by the airport. Wherever you are, if you are like, I wonder where the strip joints are, they're by the airport. You can just pretty much count on that. They're there. So just take the cab over the airport. Boobs aplenty, not that expensive, a lot cheaper than whatever crazy lawsuit or drinks. I mean, put it this way, from a cost of boob perspective, if you're in a bar and you're drinking and you're having to buy people drinks, or you're doing bets or whatever, if you're at a con, you're going to be paying anywhere from, I mean, if you're lucky, $5 to $18 a drink. So if you're getting a cocktail, I've seen old fashions in Comic Con go for $24 a drink. And so if you're doing that, I mean, look at those prices. Four old fashioned, four whiskey cocktails. That's $100. Can you imagine? You can do a lot. Well, sort of, at a strip joint for that amount of money. You can just, I mean, you can go in there, pay cover, and sit there and just stare at boobs all for 2 hours, and then keep fanning away the women. And by the way, I mean, full disclosure, I've suggested that comic people go there. Where it's like, hey, when the conversation turns to, oh man, I want to see some boobs, it's like, hey, let's go to strip joint. It just, let's not try and trick the women at this nice steak restaurant to take off their tops. Let's just, go directly to the strip joint. That's what it's there for. Anyway, but I don't get that challenge, but it's come up a lot. This is a common one at Comic Cons. Is like, let's see if I, and there again, you're not seeing anything. I mean, is the goal, you want to see if she's, has enough dexterity to take off the bra without taking off the shirt? Is that, because that's a dumb game. And then you're just hoping that the fans in the restaurant are cranked up to the point that she's nipply. Is that, anyway? This video has gone off the rails. It did a long time ago. I mean, to be fair, this whole channel. That's anyway the scenario of conventions and people. And so I mean, I could do lots of videos, and maybe in the comments below you can tell me if I'd like to hear more stories like this, please. Just let me know. But my advice, and I've kind of sprinkled it throughout this whole video, is if you're going to a con, number one, I've done this before. Drink water. You do get dehydrated on the floor a lot. If you're going out, just know. It sounds so cliche. It sounds so old. Know your limit. And if you don't know your limit, or you purposely say, you know what, tonight I'm going to cut loose and go past my limit, make sure you've got Perch there with you, who's going to make sure you get back to your hotel. Make sure that you've got somebody. It's not a designated driver. I mean, I'm not the guy who stays sober, but I am the guy who's smart enough to go, hey, if I'm going to have a lot of drinks, I'm going to have one less drink than will remove the ability for me to find my hotel later. And also, I'm going to use Uber, use a cab or something if I'm going to get hammered, because I'm not going to, I don't want to drive around San Diego anyway, but let alone drunk. And I do have that kind of, whatever it is, that moral obligation to try and make sure everybody gets home. And I always have. I've never been the person poured into a hotel room, and maybe that's, I haven't lived. I've gotten hammered. I mean, I'm not. Don't make no mistake about it. I've been sick. I've had all those situations. I'm not saying I haven't, but I haven't done it when my career is on the line. And that's, I think, the key for a lot of people. If you're an up and comer, if you want to get into this industry, if you're a retailer wanting to sell comics, I mean, word spreads. If you, it's amazing. The guy who owns a shop over there in Jersey, who everyone talks about at every con, he does not know it, and he's the guy who gets drunk and hits on anyone, female bartenders, other female retailers, once a pretty man. He's got a reputation, and that's not helpful, whether you're selling comics, making comics, editing comics, whatever you happen to do. That's just my advice. As we're getting close to coming into convention season here, kicking off a little bit, that's advice for you. And maybe some funny stories there. Hope you laughed. That's my goal. Make you laugh. See what we can do. Anyway, like, subscribe, leave a comment below. Let me know if you want more stories, less stories, more drunk, less drunk, whatever you like. I'm here for you. Thanks for listening.